for the repose of the souls we lost on the recent train attack. And while we're doing that, please remember to say a prayer for those that are still held captive. A minute silence, please. May their souls rest in peace. Amen. While we're still standing, we'll take the national anthem, closely followed by the national prayer. We will recite each of them. We will not sing them, we will recite them after the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Arise, O the national prayer. O God of creation, thank you very much. You may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure to welcome you to the 2021 Ministerial Press Briefing. The Honorable Minister of State for Transportation will be representing her boss, who is unavoidably absent. On the high table, we have the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Transportation, Dr. Magdalene Ajani. Seated to the right of the Minister of State is Honorable Linda Ikpazu, Member House of Reps and Chairman, House Committee on Maritime Safety, Education and Administration. For those of you who don't know, Honorable Linda Ikpazu used to be one of the most beautiful girls in Nigeria, and you will agree with me that she still is. I would like to welcome the directors of the ministries here present, chairman and members of governing boards here present, heads of agencies here present, other transportation family here present, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, you are all welcome once more to the 2021 Ministerial Press Briefing holding in Radio House, Abuja. I would now like to call on the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Transportation, Dr. Magdalene Ajani, to give the welcome address. PAMSEC, please.
Good morning, my boss and sister, the Honorable Minister of State, Transportation, distinguished Senator Bemisola Rukayat Saraki, my beautiful sister and chair of Maritime Committee in the House of Representatives, Honorable Barrister Linda Ikpazu, directors and CEOs of the Federal Ministry of Transportation and its agencies, distinguished guests, men and women of the press, good morning. We are here this morning for the 2021 Federal Ministry of Transportation annual brief. But we all know what has befallen us as a nation and as a ministry with the rail incident that happened about 12 days ago. We would have said put off this press brief in honor of those who have died, those who are still in captivity, and quite a number of us here are affected. Well, I'm affected. I have a relative who is still under the den of the kidnappers. And we are aware that the security agents are working day and night to make sure that they are rescued and brought back to us. We appeal to you and to all Nigerians to continue to pray for our security agents and our relatives that they will come back to us in one piece. We lost staff as Nigeria Railway Corporation. We did the best that we could with the security men we had on the train. They gave their best shots, but unfortunately they were overwhelmed. But we all know that the security apparatus in Nigeria responded almost as soon as they were running off steam, and that helped to minimize what could have been. Our heart goes out to every family that is affected, and we pray that the Lord will restore our relatives back to us in one piece. I welcome us all to this press brief. We all know that a press brief is a veritable platform of information to the general public. You may not know what people are doing till they speak about it. And that is why we are here today, to keep the public abreast of what is happening and let you know what Federal Ministry of Transportation has done in terms of projects, programs that contribute to national development. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the transport sector, as we all know, is the life wire of any economy. Its contribution to the delivery of an economically viable, productive, and sustainable economy, therefore, cannot be overemphasized. This has propelled the ministry and its agencies to strive to implement its goals and achieve its best targets through various strategies, policies, programs, and collaboration with the private sector and other relevant stakeholders at home and abroad. The ministry recorded significant achievements in the rail subsector with rehabilitation, construction, and expansion of the rail lines within Nigeria and to neighboring link-land countries. There are also linkages to both inland dry ports and seaports. In the same vein, the marine subsector recorded trailblazing successes in the last 1 year. Notable of such successes is the reduction in the Apapa gridlock and deployment of Deep Blue projects. In addition, the signing of the Suppression of Piracy and Other Maritime Offenses (SPOMO) Act was one of the achievements in the marine subsector. The rail subsector is currently undergoing some reform initiatives that will change the narratives of the subsector when fully implemented. We have come a long way in the quest for an inclusive development, but we are still far from our goal. This is because of the myriad of challenges ranging from insecurity, operational challenges, inadequate funding, amongst others. Let us, however, be rest assured that the Federal Ministry of Transportation is undeterred by the challenges, but rather we are determined to deliver an inclusive and world-class transportation system. May I at the
Thank you very much, Permanent Secretary. The Honorable Minister of State for Transportation, in her full capacity as the Minister of State for Transportation, will now give the press briefing. Minister of State, please.
Thank you. I'm going to start through our departments, units, and agencies, namely the departments are all listed there. You know the agencies, but let me go through them again. The Nigerian Railway Corporation, the Nigerian Ports Authority, the Nigerian Maritime Administration Safety Agency, Nigerian Shippers Council, the Inland Waterways Authority, Nigerian Institute of Transport Technology, Maritime Academy of Nigeria, and the Council of Regulation of Freight Forwarding in Nigeria. The goals of the ministry are clearly stated out there. I think I will not go into that too much. Now, on the policies and legal and regulatory framework, it is there that it's a function of a well-crafted policy and regulatory framework. In this vein, government is inclined towards policies that would encourage private sector participation in the operations of various modes of transportation. Consequently, which is currently with FEC awaiting approval, the National Maritime Transport Policy, which is an interministerial committee working on the policy that has submitted a report to the Honorable Minister and is awaiting the approval of the NTB before adoption. Then there's the Road Transport Transformation Program, which is targeted at institutionalizing regulation in the road transport subsector. The states and relevant federal MDAs are involved in actualizing this, and we are hopeful that an executive order will be issued to fast-track the implementation of the program. And then, of course, we have the National Transport Commission Bill, which is before Mr. President for consent. Also, that as we await the birth of the National Transport Commission, an interministerial committee comprising the ministry, its agencies, as well as Ministry of Justice, National Planning, BPE, and ICRC will revisit the drafts of the following bills, which are the Nigerian Railway Authority, the Nigerian Ports and Harbour Authority, and the National Inland Waterways Authority. Now, one of the major milestones recorded in respect of legal and regulatory framework is in the war against piracy through the passage of legislation of the Suppression of Piracy and Other Maritime Offences Act 2019. This is actually the first of its kind amongst maritime states in Western Central Africa sub-region and has brought about reductions in the incidence of piracy and other related related offences in the maritime domain. Now, obviously, it's there, or as you can see on Chapter 2, the national priority of the ministry in 2021 to 2025, which obviously includes stabilize the microeconomy, achieve agriculture and food security, ensure energy sufficiency in power and petroleum, and the one that concerns the ministry, improve transportation and other infrastructure, and the list goes on. Now, I think what I am going to do, which I think will be of a better way to do this, is I'm actually going to ask rather than we're going to start with hang on. Now I'm moving across to chapter 3 for everybody, which is the ministerial high-level goals towards achieving priority 4 of the 9 priority areas, which is 1, to ensure safe and secure transportation. As we're all aware, security is fundamental transport system, and the physical infrastructure as well as security architecture is critical to a safe and sustainable transport system. To this end, in 2021 of the year we're reviewing, the ministry had undertaken the underlisted interventions to ensure a safe and secure transportation. One I've already mentioned is the maritime safety and security, which I'm sure the DG of NIMASA will go and talk about and give us in detail. I'm going to hand it over to each of the agencies to speak exactly on what they've done. I think that if that works better, at least that way we realize that the agencies are and who are here can come and give a direct brief to everybody and speak to it. So on that, I'm going to hand over. NIMASA, I'm going to start with you. So hold on for a minute, NIMASA.
The Honorable Minister of State Transportation, the Permanent Secretary, Federal Minister of Transportation, pardon me, the Chair, House Committee on Marine Transport and Education. I know according to protocol I'm supposed to start with you, but I have a constituency that I think if I did not recognize them first, I may be subverting the protocol of my own ministry, supervising ministry. So pardon me if I recognize you after recognizing my own Honorable Minister and Permanent Secretary. The directors of the Federal Ministry of Transportation, my colleagues, head of agencies, other management staff of Federal Ministry of Transportation, distinguished guests, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I think I consider it a singular honor to be for me to be the first person to speak. Ordinarily, I think other parasiters must have taken the shot in view of the economic positions and advantage contributions they have been given to the nation. But I think it's not out of place given the successes recorded under the maritime sector supervised by the Federal Ministry of Transportation. Speaker after speaker before me, they discussed the issue of insecurity in our own rail system, which we consider as very, very unfortunate. However, I think life will continue, and as mentioned by the Permanent Secretary and the Honorable Minister, we are working around the clock to address that issue. Having said that, I think it's time now to give the other side of the coin on the issue of maritime insecurity in the last 1.5 years. Exactly in June 2019, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria ascended into law the SPOMO Act, that is the Suppression of Piracy and Other Maritime Offenses Act of 2019 into law after being passed by the National Assembly. We consider this as a very good milestone in terms of addressing the issue of maritime insecurity. Most of the countries in the Gulf of Guinea, they are following the queue, our territorial waters. And between that time to date, the act convicted total number of 20 people, 3 foreigners, and 17 Nigerians. The 17 Nigerians were handed over prison term ranging from 10 years to 7 years imprisonment. This is a very good milestone that sent a strong signal to these criminals to know that the Nigerian government, they are very serious in terms of addressing maritime insecurity in Nigeria. As a very serious country that sat down to enact law, stand alone to address the issue of maritime insecurity. Not sooner than later, in June, visited us in Lagos to commission the Deep Blue project, a project that provides platforms that address the issue of maritime insecurity, comprising of 2 special mission vessels, 17 fast interceptor boats for response purposes, 3 special mission helicopters, 2 special mission aircraft, C4I center where we have situation room that we look or see whatever happens within our own territorial waters and beyond for quick response. And that led to introduce a system where we will make use of whatever information we use, that we have to translate it into action through collaboration with our. Just 2 days ago, the Japanese government donated 300 million Japanese yuan, equivalent to $2.4 million, for us to buy additional patrol ships. I thank you so very much for listening.
Thank you very much, DG. I have been directed. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for the DG again. I have been directed to invite the Executive Secretary, Nigerian Shippers Council, Honorable Emmanuel Jime, to come and give his scorecard. A round of applause for him.
the Honorable Minister of State, Minister of Transportation, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, let me very respectfully acknowledge the presence in our midst of the Chairman of the House Committee on Marine Transport, and I may seek your kind indulgence, ladies and gentlemen, to very respectfully stand on the established protocols. I'd like to say at the outset that for us at the Shippers Council, our interpretation of our mandate clearly is that at the top of what we do is to moderate costs and to ensure that business is conducted in our ports not only in a cost-effective manner, but to also make certain that there are standards of infrastructure and also standards of services that are delivered. Because there is a connection between the quality of infrastructure that is delivered and the services that are also rendered. Both together added will give a cost-effective environment. Thank you. So if I may just simply recap, I was saying that our core mandate is cost moderation. And in order for us to be able to achieve this central mandate that is core to our services, we have developed a number of tools to assist us to be able to achieve this. So first, we are concerned, obviously, about the standards of the quality of infrastructure that we have in our ports. We are also concerned about the promotion of quality of services that are rendered in our ports. The tools we have developed to assist us to be able to achieve this are a number of. The one very important tool that we've developed for this is, so far we have been able to harmonize tariff heads. You recall, if anyone in this hall is acquainted with the maritime industry, that before now we had over 21 tariff heads that were operating in our ports. But because of the activities and the effort of the Shippers Council, supported, of course, by our parent ministry, today we can report that we have brought down the number of tariff heads in our ports from over 21 to less than 10. We also are engaged in the harmonization of operating procedures in our ports. Because we have been able to do this, today the Shippers Council, working with the Ministry of Transportation, is implementing the harmonized procedures in our ports. And so we have the Nigerian Ports Process Manual that today is the guiding article for how business is conducted in our ports. Government, in its wisdom, has actually assisted in the establishment of a port standing task force, which is today implementing the operational procedures in our ports. The immediate result of the implementation of the Ports Process Manual under the leadership of the Shippers Council is that today we have less cargo dwell time in our ports than has ever been in the past. We also, in the course of pursuing this mandate, have ensured that there is no shipping company or indeed port terminal in the Nigerian ports that is able to increase charges without having to sit together with the Shippers Council to negotiate. Now, after the negotiation with the Shippers Council, we're then able to recommend to our Honorable Minister for approval. That is the only way today under the Nigerian environment that any of the charges that are visited in our ports can be implemented. So that we consider an important factor in our ability to be able to bring down the cost of doing business in our ports. The Shippers Council thinks that, and rightly so, that any seaport is only viable to the extent that we have connectivity to our hinterlands. So pursuant to that, we have been promoting the establishment of inland dry ports all over the nation. And during this press conference, I'm able to report that at least 3 of those inland dry ports are now at almost completion, and we have the commitment and the promise of the Honorable Minister to ensure the commissioning of at least 2 of those dry ports in this second quarter of 2022. Here I'm addressing the Dala Inland Dry Port in Kano, and of course the Funtua Inland Dry Port in Katsina. The Haipang Dry Port in Jos has now been able to get very serious capital investment and injection from the Plateau State government, and so we can also report that in less than no time the inland dry port in Jos will be up and running. Last but not least is the Ibadan dry port, which is now been processed to the point that we are able to approach the Federal Executive Council to get an approval so the concessionaire, who are Chinese, can move into the development and the construction of that dry port. Now, I need to make clear that for us, dry ports are essential to the way that we're able to deliver on services as far as our maritime space is concerned. This is because for the first time, we're now able to bring shipping very, very close to our shippers who are in every nook and cranny of this country and nationwide. Not only are we able to do that, it also means by implication that we're now able to begin.
That has been done and that has taken place. So we now have more pilots available to bring in vessels. That means we are improving in terms of ship turnaround time. So there is less waiting time on vessels when they are at the anchorage. Our responsibility is also to provide maritime services. Maritime services here in terms of whether it is tugboats, that is towage, whether it's to provide mooring, which means you need to buy mooring boats. And in the past 1 year, we have acquired a lot of maritime vessels which have been deployed across the nation. These tugboats are necessary to bring in vessels as quickly as possible. We have also gone ahead to even procure new tugboats, which are about 80 bullet pool. We don't have any 80 bullet pool tugs currently, but some have just been procured, which will be deployed to Lekki Deep Sea Port. The essence of all these activities is to ensure that Nigerian Ports Authority carries out its mandate of providing necessary equipment that will ensure speedy processing of cargo, whether in or out of the country. In terms of trade facilitation and the ease of doing business, we realized that there was need to create more truck parks, especially in Lagos, in order to reduce the traffic gridlock. And because of that, we had also licensed 4 more truck parks, which will be pre-gate. And from there, it means trucks can go straight in the port once they get the ATO license. To also encourage exports and join the federal government's initiative in terms of diversification of the economy from the oil to the non-oil sector, we have advertised, pre-qualified, and issued licenses to 10 export processing terminals. We worked with Nigerian Export Processing Council to assess them, determine their locations. Now, the essence of this export promotion terminals is that an exporter will take his cargo into that location. We expect the Nigerian Customs and all relevant government agencies to be there. Whether it is perishable items or whatever, at that location, these goods for export will be processed, will be sorted, they will be tagged, they will be containerized, and then the container will be sealed, and the export will go straight into the ports. We believe this will improve the speed at which our exports get out of the country, and that will assist in the improvement and increase in the country's GDP. These terminals are spread between Lagos and Ogun State. And we make sure that their location is outside the red zone. The red zone is that corridor between Tinkan and Apapa. That way, we also ensure that gridlock has been reduced. There has been a significant reduction in truck turnaround time. This is because of the implementation of the e-call-up system. What we did was to keep tweaking it and improving on it. The initial concept was for Lily Pond to be the location, or the only location where trucks get to as pre-gate before they get into the ports. But we realized that is not possible. It wouldn't be efficient. And we licensed private individuals that were interested to set up more pre-gate truck parks. And one of the conditions is you must have bollards, you must have automated gates, you must have CCTV and other internet services, toilets for the drivers, and so on and so forth. And that has significantly reduced congestion in that area. We also realized that most of the trucks carrying trailers that are breaking along our highways in the country or in the port or along the corridor to the ports was because they were substandard. We therefore worked with Federal Road Safety Commission and created a minimum safety standard for all trucks. And about 3,000 trucks were checked, and those that passed the requirements that we set out were actually licensed to be able to ply into the ports. And that has reduced a lot of accidents of containers falling on cars and other citizens, containers breaking down and at wrong places. We have seen a 65% reduction in number of accidents due to improvement on the standard of the trucks we allow into the ports. In terms of port security, Nigerian Ports Authority has procured 6 security patrol boats. These are supposed to be posted or sent out to the 6 pilotage districts. Our responsibility for security is the waters immediately within the vicinity of the port. And then the one outside that is that of NIMASA. We have had minor incidences of attempted piracy and so on and so forth. So those security patrol boats are used for that. And they are being manned by the Nigerian police, maritime police. We have also standardized operational procedures for different activities such as barging, private jetties, pilotage, and vessel berthing. We have started collaborating with NIWA to ensure that the licenses issued to private jetties are actually in conformity with our own requirements. Because what we discovered was private jetties are springing up, and when you speak, they say they have NIWA license, but NPA does not know about their existence. And while they meet some of the NIWA requirements, some of them don't meet ours. Then ours too, those that we license also are not meeting some of the NIWA requirements. So myself and the Oga at the top of NIWA have agreed to work together and come up with one checklist that will ensure that all jetties meet the requirements of those agencies. This is both for safety, to also be able to monitor their activities, and also for improved revenue generation. The traffic gridlock in Apapa, we all know, has improved. It has reduced drastically. Where we have issues is in Tinkan, and that is indirectly affected by the road network there. We are thinking of what do we do? Do we introduce competition also for the current truck call-up system or not? But we are working with the high-tech, that's the contractor, high-tech, to ensure that the work between Sunrise to Coconut, that is a part that is terribly bad. The permanent secretary of the Ministry of Transport has been working with us to also speak with the Federal Ministry of Works, because if that location is not fully reconstructed before the rainy season, it means that all trucks going to Tinkan will now start coming back to Apapa, and that will create a major problem for us. We had donated about 24 motorcycles that are meant for regular monitoring of that area in conjunction with Lagos State Government. And let me use this opportunity to thank Lagos State Government and the Nigerian Police and the Federal Road Safety Commission, who have worked with us and other government agencies to ensure the free flow of traffic in that area. Recently, we realized that there are so many checkpoints along those corridors. And what we did as a team, that is between Nigerian Ports Authority, the Nigerian Police, and Lagos State Government,
was to stand up or was to go around and identify checkpoints that were relevant. And we all signed an MOU to say anywhere there's a checkpoint outside the recognized checkpoints is an illegal checkpoint. We have situations where out of commission officers from various government agencies or off-duty officers wear uniform, set up private checkpoints and extort people. We have situations where it has now improved or developed so much that it's the touts and the Agberos that are collecting this money on behalf of the officers standing far away. So when you come, Agbero runs away, the police officer, you can't catch, but actually the amount goes to them. So working with the relevant government agencies, we have come up with this. And we will publish it and ensure that everybody knows if there are going to be 10 checkpoints, anything outside those 10 and their location is termed as illegal. And the various government agencies are signing that. In terms of engineering infrastructure and operational capacity, we have created a signal station in Forcados. This is to enable the port in that area, capture movement of more service boats, and monitor maritime activities in the location. The bathymetric survey for the dredging of Escravos Channel has started, and there are certain parts of that channel leading to Cocoa that have probably not been surveyed for upwards of almost 2 decades or so. And that has just commenced, and we believe that if we have that, it will help proper planning in terms of dredging and other activities, and it will help investors in the maritime sector determine the best location for their investments. We have improved power supply to Rivers Port, which had been in darkness for so long because of non-availability of certain powers this thing. We increased the container holding bay in Rivers Port by giving space to PTOL, and we have started seeing improved business activity in Rivers Port, while BUA is currently has mobilized to site and is already working on the startup of the rehabilitation of their own quays. There has been construction of 6,000 metric tons of bitumen tank in Rivers Port also.